Feels good to be back on the win train. Now, if you're a competent NFL franchise and you win a football game, you'd think, oh, yeah, whatever we did last game worked pretty well. Our receivers must have done well. Running backs must have done well. Defense must have done well. Quarterback must have done well. If you're the other 31 teams in the league, if you win a football game, you leave everything alone. You don't change the feed on a winning horse. Not this team. Not the Pittsburgh Steelers. We win football games and change the feed on the horse that won.
Hello and welcome back to the podcast, Two Steelers Fans in a Pro Football World. I'm Zach.
And I am Dill.
We are here to bring you all of the news from the NFL and the UFL from a Pittsburgh Steelers fan's perspective. And as Dill said, we did beat the Raiders, which is why I'm sporting my Raiders jersey. My least quality jersey lowest quality jersey that I have, but it's all right. It's partially
have the shield.
Huh?
You don't even have the shield on it, like
that
thing.
As because it's the Raiders and the NFL didn't even want to be associated with them. But so anyway, so this past weekend, Steelers defeated the Las Vegas Raiders by a score of 32-14. Or was it 13? 42-14.
Pretty sure it was 13. Until the internet.
You're right. 32-13. So, anyway, the fact that the Steelers scored 32 points is amazing. We did it with, I believe, either just over or just under 300 yards of offense.
Just under.
Yeah. So, not great offensively. But
hold on a second here.
Well,
that ain't their fault that half the time we started, we got the ball at the Raiders 40.
I was going to say, mainly this game was dominated by our defense. We technically had 4 turnovers, not counting turnovers on downs. We had a blocked field goal, blocked punt. We had a blocked punt. We had one interception and 2 forced fumbles. Both forced fumbles caused by TJ Watt because he said, if you're not going to let me sack you, I'm going to take the ball. So, great overall defensive performance. And this was the game that told me defensively, especially for TJ, that, he might not be lighting up the sack stats, but he's still making a case for defensive player of the year. 5 forced fumbles in 6 games is ridiculous.
Hey, I thought sacks didn't matter. That's all I heard from Cleveland fans for however many months. So
exactly. So definitely, destroying the forced fumble category. Technically should have 2 extra forced fumbles from that Atlanta game, but I'm not going to get back into that because that hurts. Anyway, defense was absolutely unstoppable. We thought it was going to be a rocky game after they picked us apart on the first drive, but it looked like the defense was like, we'll give you this drive. Never again.
That's about it, yeah.
They had us in the first drive, not gonna lie.
They did.
Yeah. But the biggest thing, defense came up clutch. And like Dill said, the offense scored after pretty much, I believe, all of those turnovers except maybe one. And I think it was the one where Deshaun Jackson got the interception. Or it might have, or no, that was that was Dallas game, my bad. But I think there was one interception that was, we ended up not going 3 and out, but I don't know if we scored on that possession. But all the other ones we did. So, much better than the Dallas game where we got 3 turnovers and did nothing with them. This was definitely much better on all facets. Najee Harris had himself a game. 106 yards on the ground, 36-yard rushing touchdown on one of them. Also got a couple receptions for decent chunk plays. Receivers weren't really involved. Pat Freiermuth had, I don't think, only 2 catches, so he didn't get a lot.
It was like 2 for 36 or something. He almost had a touchdown, and then Fields forgot where the line of scrimmage was, so he did not have the touchdown, but he almost did.
Yeah. So, I would say not a perfect game on offense, but also it's hard to have, a really good passing offense when again, you're working with short fields and your running game is working really well. I don't mind having a bad passing game when our running game was working really, really well. And that's overall Fields, I think, played very well. He had two rushing touchdowns during that game. And I believe he had one passing touchdown in that game. So they were
No
all
passing touchdown.
okay. All the touchdowns were rushing because there was the one by Najee and then there were the two by Fields. So still, overall, great game. Um, that's pretty much all we can say about it. We kind of figured that going into the Raiders stadium. Also, the fact that we had pretty much half of the fans in that stadium, we knew we were going to play pretty well. We had a good feeling about it. I know
We had more
Dill.
than half. That stadium was packed. It
Yeah,
was ridiculous.
yeah. I know Dill technically in his game picks had us to lose, but that's because he has to, or else we will lose.
If I don't pick the Steelers to lose, then we actually lose. All
Yep,
right, that's what happens.
that's what happened to the Dallas game. We tested it this year and it didn't work. So
I can never pick the Steelers to win a football game ever again.
it's
It's the
unfortunate.
short version.
It really
It
is.
is, but you know what? You got to do what it serves a grander purpose.
Exactly. But I gave the rundown. I kind of gave a lot of my thoughts on it. Dill, I want to hear your thoughts on the game because we were going back and forth during the game. How did you feel about it?
Uh, I I was pretty happy with it. I was less happy when my 10 leg touchdown parlay didn't hit. I only missed one. This has nothing to do with the Steeler game, but I picked 10 guys to score touchdowns, and the only one that didn't was Mike Evans. And I was pissed because
It's
I
like the
almost won
most locked.
$4,000.
It's
I
like the
was so
most locked
pressed.
one too.
Huh?
That's like the most locked guy too. Like of all
I
people
know.
to miss.
You should have, dude. I was watching in my dorm with some of my other friends. You should have seen me when not Jonathan Taylor, Michael Pittman, because I bet on him to score a touchdown. He caught that touchdown at the very end, and I went nuts. I was zipping up and down the halls like an idiot. So I was kind of more focused on my parlay, especially after we went up by 3 scores. Um,
It's just wild that we did. I'm just like
I didn't think we could do
yeah,
that. But of
ever.
course, the only natural response whenever your team wins by multiple scores is to bench the quarterback that did it. Of course, that just makes
Exactly.
sense. Russell Wilson's gonna start against the Jets, and I'm not a fan, man. Why are we stopping what's working? Fields is working. We had this discussion a couple weeks ago whenever like after Dallas game, whenever he lost the Dallas game, and people were saying we should start Wilson. I mean, he's still working.
Hmm.
I could see it maybe if Wilson goes in for one game and he does the same thing as Fields, then they go back to Fields just to see what they have, which Tomlin kind of made it sound that way. I don't really know. He made it sound like, oh, we got talent on the sideline, man. We're gonna see what, and not that I can do a good Tomlin impression, but we got talent on the sideline, man. We're gonna see, what we can do with it, or, whatever. So if it's one game and he just does the same thing as Fields, fine. If we beat the Jets by 40, we'll have a different discussion. When
Yeah.
we don't beat the Jets by 40, we should go back to like I don't what does Wilson have that Fields doesn't have outside of like the experience of being in the NFL? Like I don't know. I'm not a fan of that.
Yeah.
I think like Fields doesn't have the super flashy numbers, but he's winning. He's winning football games. Like I don't understand why you would change that. Also, shout out to Roman Wilson, who was active for that game, the Raiders game, and did nothing. I saw him in for like one snap. I saw him at the bottom of my screen. I was like, yeah, or excuse me, Wilson. And then there was a false start, and he ran off the field. And I was like, that's so cool. All right, yes, chef, understood, Captain.
Yeah.
I hope to see. I don't know why we drafted him if we ain't going to use him, but
Hey, do
whatever.
do we ever really play our rookies ever?
No,
I mean, like,
our friggin' rookie receivers keep getting hurt, dude. Calvin Austin blew up his foot the whole first year. Roman Wilson's knee exploded, so he's been out for the first 6 weeks. Like, we can't keep these guys healthy. It's annoying.
and I stand, or I'm actually starting to believe that comment that I saw when Fatanu destroyed his knee, where it's like Mike Tomlin must be sacrificing players' rookie seasons in order to keep his winning streak going.
Yeah, but he
It's like,
doesn't have to sacrifice our whole rookie team, bro. Frazier's hurt. Roman Wilson was hurt. Like that's the Frazier. That
Fautano,
sucks. By the way, losing
our
Frazier. Yeah, Faltan is hurt.
actually our top
Losing
those are
Frazier
our top
sucks.
three guys. Our top three draft picks are all currently injured, which sucks. Well, I guess
Sucks.
technically Roman Wilson isn't. He's technically coming back. But they all were
Not
injured.
technically, he just is.
Yeah.
He was active last month. So
Right. I'm well actually I will say technically because he's active but got like negative playing time. So
yeah,
is he back?
it's
It's hard to say.
whatever.
But at
But
least
yeah,
Peyton Wilson is all over the field and we still like that.
yes, that's true. That's
Yeah.
and he only has one knee to begin with. So if he blows up
Yeah.
the other one, that I don't really want to see what happens.
No.
Um,
Well, technically, hopefully that means that he can't blow up the one that's already
I'm
not.
saying, dude, if you don't have an ACL, you can't tear an ACL. There's nothing to tear if you don't have one.
Got it.
It was the perfect pick. You're tired of guys tearing their ACLs. You draft somebody who doesn't have an ACL. It's
Yeah.
brilliant. Tomlin's a genius, and Peyton Wilson has been fantastic, and he can't get hurt because he doesn't have a knee to tear. All right.
Exactly.
Everybody else on the team has torn some form of knee at some point this season or in seasons prior for the veterans. Peyton Wilson can't tear an ACL that he doesn't have.
Exactly. Think smarter, not harder. We had, I mean, I know what prompted that pick. We had two inside linebackers that tore ACLs last year and had season-ending injuries. He's like,
Tomlin saw a
boom.
problem and he drafted the problem solver. All right, that's what he did. He drafted the problem solver.
Yeah, there we go. And that, I don't know, for the Wilson and Fields debate, I like Russell Wilson. I've always liked Russell Wilson. As I've probably mentioned on this podcast before, if the Steelers just stopped existing and I had to cheer for another NFL team, it would be the Seahawks. So I've followed pretty much all of Russell Wilson's career, loved him in Seattle. And I think he's a great veteran presence to have on our team, whether he's on the sideline or in the game. If it was the first game of the season, I would agree starting Russell Wilson. I would agree. He has more experience.
We had a discussion too at the start of the year where he was named the starter, and we were both like, "Yeah, that's fine. Let's let Fields learn from the guy who has more experience. Let's let him learn from somebody who's won to a Super Bowl, been to two, has experience winning games, and then if that doesn't work, then we'll put Fields in." But that debate should be irrelevant now because Fields has been winning. This is like when Wilson's calf did whatever the heck it did, and Fields came in and started winning. In my opinion, there's just no need to go. There's no need to like try and reset the process. Right? There's just no reason to do that. But
yeah, no, I don't disagree. The biggest reason is so Fields, was decent in Chicago. He wasn't great, but he was at least towards the end of his time in Chicago. He was all right. He was fine. He wasn't necessarily winning them games, but they didn't have the best defense then, and he had no weapons around him at all, so he was doing all right. Now, so far, you look at his first 6 games, he has the best statistics out of like a 6-game stretch in his career, like period. And that there's got to be a reason for that. You don't just magically switch teams and then start doing significantly better if if you weren't stuck in a bad scheme and then got into a better one. We pretty much proved over those first 6 games, even with 2 losses, that Fields is a lot better with us in Pittsburgh than he ever was with Chicago. And considering this is a quarterback that even when he was in Chicago, you had a lot of people still think highly of him. Not everybody, but a lot of people still think highly of him. We know that we are taking him to that next level. Maybe he isn't, because I know Tomlin's mentioned it. I know media people have mentioned it. Well, it's like, okay, well, is he the same level of Mahomes and Allen or Lamar Jackson or Joe Burrow? I'm like, first of all, you just need to afford.
That's ridiculous.
Right. I'm like,
most guys aren't at Mahomes level.
Yeah.
Or Lamar or Allen. Most guys aren't there. I don't think that's fair.
Exactly.
Come on now.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I was thinking too. And they're like, will this offense be able to compete with them? And I'm like, this is the Pittsburgh Steelers. We've very rarely had an offense that could compete with them. And to be fair, we did once In the 2010s, we had the Killer Bees, and they couldn't lead us to a Super Bowl. And for so many different reasons and all stuff there. But what I'm trying to get at is offense has never really been a major part of the Steelers' identity. We have always had the offense that we need to have to win games. Our defense, anytime we've won a championship, it has been because our defense was generational. And what do we have now? We have, technically, if you look at full rankings, we have a top 3 defense. And in my opinion, we still have the number 1 defense. We just, have played subpar in 1 or 2 games. But in terms of takeaways, I believe we're leading. In terms of pure interceptions, we're second or third. In terms of sacks, we're like right in the middle, but I know we're going to get better as soon as we start playing AFC North opponents because TJ Watt, absolutely loves the backfield whenever we're playing division opponents. And in terms of points scored against us, we're second behind only the Chargers, I believe, who they've played some easier opponents or easier offenses than us. Like by the end of the season, if we keep this trajectory, we should be able to climb into the number 1 spot on that. But the biggest thing is we finally have the defense because we finally have the middle linebackers. We finally have the secondary that can take this defense into championship winning level. Of course, you want a good offense, but our offense has been playing better than all of our other offenses over the last 3 years. So what's the issue? You got
Also,
that.
the thing about when you bench a quarterback, you assume that the guy you're taking off the bench is going to do considerably better than the guy you're benching.
Yeah.
Explain to me how Russell Wilson is going to make this team any better than Justin Fields. Maybe a little bit. Maybe a little bit. The problem was not our quarterback. The problem is we got no receivers. We got George Pickens, Calvin Austin sometimes, Freiermuth whenever he gets schemed into positions where he can get the ball because for whatever reason he just doesn't get schemed that way. We tried trading for Brandon Ayuk. That didn't work. We tried trading for Devontae Adams. That he is choosing to lose in New York for whatever reason. But okay, fine. It's not. I don't think it's Fields is not perfect, but especially in terms of like his turnovers, he's been pretty close. He's been very, very close to perfect. Like I don't understand what you think you're gonna get out of Russell Wilson that you didn't get out of Justin Fields. I don't think you're gonna get a whole lot more. If that's what you're looking for, you're gonna be disappointed. Honestly, I feel like you're gonna get less because he's coming off a really bad tenure in Denver. He hasn't played the first 6 games. He's coming off of an injury, and he's getting old, man. I don't know. He's got maybe 2 more years of quality football left in him, just in general. So I don't know. This makes no sense to me. Like, what is the point behind this? There's no reason. What you have is working. Don't change it, goofy.
I don't disagree at all. I think something that is definitely worth noting. I mean, it's everything that you said, but okay, so you might have a little bit more accuracy. I think the biggest thing that Russell Wilson could bring is a little bit more accuracy from the passing. Obviously, Fields hasn't been turning the ball over, but he's missed some wide open receivers. He's missed some easy throws, and I think in a lot of ways, like Russell Wilson can give us a better look for things like that. He can give us more accuracy. But if this was vintage Russ, I wouldn't be complaining about this part. But Russell Wilson's a lot older. He is not as mobile as he used to be. And where have we been gashing opponents? It's been by finally getting into the mix of having a mobile quarterback.
Someone openly admitted that Russell Wilson is not going to move the same way that Justin Fields will.
Yeah.
He openly admitted that in a media conference maybe 2 days ago on Wednesday. I don't know, Wednesday or Thursday. Probably Wednesday, I think. I don't know. In any case, he openly admitted that. So again, it's like, what are you looking for? The accuracy thing, I don't know, man. That's not enough.
Yeah.
Again, I don't care how accurate he is if he's winning football games. That should be what's most important. You can improve accuracy. You can improve like awareness and all that stuff. What you can't really improve is how you get your team to a win. Right? If you can't win, then you don't really have anything else going for you, no matter how good you are at everything else.
Yeah.
Fields is good at winning, and he's good at some other stuff, right? He's not perfect, but like you can improve all the other things. I don't. This move just
Yeah.
don't make no sense to me.
I mean, I'd say the biggest positive about all of this is I do like Fields' attitude about it. His
Oh, for sure.
response
Much better
was
than friggin' Kenny Pickett.
yeah, his
Who
response
whined
was
and cried.
exactly. His response was, you know, better than I think a lot of us could have ever thought a quarterback in the league would probably react to that. Um, and I don't necessarily disagree with him. We should be probably 6-0 right now. But it's exactly, Dill, what you've been saying. If Russ was in those games, would we be 6-0? The only reason why I say maybe is because at least in a couple of them it came down to scoring off the turnovers, or in one of them it came into scoring off the turnovers, and the other one it came to executing a game-winning drive. I think both of those Russ has been really good at in his career. But again, is he at that level right now? I don't think he is.
The
Again, and
game-winning drive was a bad snap, dude. That wasn't even
that's
Fields' fault.
also
So there's
true.
that. Off turnovers. Wasn't able to watch enough of the game, so I don't know how much on Fields that is. But when it comes to the game-winning drive, that was a bad snap, dude.
Yeah.
That was
And
that. I'm not pinning that on him.
yeah, I mean, and we talked about it after the Dallas game. Every quarterback has a bad game. That was Fields' bad game, and hopefully it stays as one bad game. But look, if we get this win, the biggest thing that I'm worried about, or I guess there's two things that I'm worried about with this, is that if we win this game, Tomlin's going to say that we stick with Russ, which I disagree with because we have a defense and we have some contributors at offense that will probably be able. I mean, look, with a very similar team, we took Kenny Pickett and Mason Rudolph and Mitch Trubisky to wins. So again, is like, how much can you attribute to just a quarterback? Like, obviously, when we get the playoffs, then what quarterback you have in is very, very important. In this case, it's not that. That's not really what we're looking at. We're looking at the fact that you have the greatest defensive player in the league on your team. You have Alex Highsmith, who's more than likely going to be back. I mean, this is going to be the healthiest our defense has been in a long time. And we still have Najee Harris on offense. We have Jaylen Warren back. We have Pat Freiermuth. We have all of these weapons that, in most other cases, they're not going to be the big flashy offense that you want in the NFL right now, but they're a bunch of guys that can get it done when they need to, especially at home with throwback jerseys on Sunday night. This is Steelers. This is a Steelers game right here. I mean, this is peak Steelers football. What I'm worried is that, if Wilson wins, then it's just going to be more fuel to the fire of Tomlin saying, well, Wilson's going to keep going with us until we lose. And then, we're in another rut because he's like, well, do I want to give up on Wilson? And do we want to throw Fields back in? But Fields hasn't been getting first team reps. So now he's going to be a little bit rusty. Like, I don't want to get into that funk. And also, but then if we lose this game, we're 4-3, not too far away from the gauntlet, and then we still apparently will have questions at quarterback, and I just don't want to deal with that.
I don't know how much of a gauntlet this is going to be. I'm going to be so
Yeah.
honest. Cleveland is atrocious. Cincinnati is really bad. Philly is not very good. Baltimore, well, it's Baltimore.
Yeah.
Washington, that's going to be way rougher than I thought it would be. Kansas City's always going to be annoying. But, like, I don't know. For them, this isn't like, it's not as intimidating to me as it was at the start of the year,
Yeah.
especially with Cleveland and Cincinnati.
Here's my thing. I mean, obviously, we've been probably the most consistently dominant team against the division over the last, basically in the 2000s than any other team. Besides maybe the Patriots because of their, random Super Bowl run. But I mean, even like We are still the only team that, knock on wood, because it's a long season. Knock on wood has never hasn't been in the bottom of their division since the 1990s.
It's the realignment, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, we are probably the most dominant against the division. But I would 100% agree with you if it wasn't for Cincinnati and Cleveland still being divisional games. If it was them in any other circumstance, I would say, yeah, we probably are totally set. Even against Cleveland right now, just because, I mean, like, I know we've been kind of against them since Ben left, but like, in all honesty, Cleveland, we should be able to dominate just because we always kill Cleveland. Cincinnati's the one that I'm still worried about solely because it doesn't really matter how they look; they still have Joe Burrow, and we've been splitting with them pretty decently. So I wouldn't be surprised if we split with them this year. Baltimore,
We sweep them last year.
we did sweep them last year. That was kind of because we had Jake Browning's number though. We played them both. But it's Baltimore that worries me a little bit. Which normally they don't. I don't know, just like the fact that we do have a 7-1 record against them over the last couple of years makes me think that they're
That's helpful. That is definitely helpful.
It's helpful for sure, but it's something. It's like we have that streak. This is and then like I don't know. It's anytime anybody will try to predict that game, it's not going to go how they expect it. And that's why, I mean, no matter how we look, no matter how they look, no matter anything, that is the hardest game to ever expect. I mean, last year, we were down by 2 scores. We thought we were absolutely, I mean, down 2 scores. It's like 4 minutes left. We thought we were shot. Blocked punt, JPJ interception, somehow magically Pickett found Pickens for like a 40-yard touchdown. No idea.
Canada did great.
Exactly. That was the only reason why Matt Canada lasted even half the season. Like, you never know what's going to happen. But yeah, I agree with you. I think Washington's going to be definitely the hardest. I truly think Washington might be one of the hardest, if not the hardest game in that gauntlet. Just because technically Kansas City will either squeak away with a win or we'll get flat out destroyed. So I'm not going to
get what?
Right. I'm not going to say it's like hard because there's literally we either play out of our dang minds or we just get wiped. Like it's not there's one with the Commanders is actually going to be okay, probably back and forth who makes the least amount of mistakes. But it's about who makes the least amount of mistakes. I want Fields in based off what I've seen over Wilson.
Yeah. I mean, look, we'll see what Wilson does. Again, if we go in there and we put up 40 points on the Jets, all right, fine. I just don't think this was a gamble that we needed to take.
No.
That's my opinion.
I just thought about this because 40 points against the Jets have a top 5 defense in the league right now.
Yeah.
And it's exactly what you said. Why are we switching up our offense, period? But why are we switching up our offense against one of the hardest defensive matchups we're going against? You want your offense to be as dialed in as possible. And now, I mean, Tomlin did. I want to hear your thoughts on this. What do you think about Tomlin saying that we might see 2 quarterbacks, kind of like both quarterbacks, kind of interchanging it? Like obviously Wilson will be the starter, but kind of like mixing and matching.
I feel like that's not stable, and I don't think it's sustainable.
Yeah.
That screams to me that neither one of these guys is the long-term idea for the franchise. And then the Steelers are just kind of,
Which ticks me off because Justin Fields, I said at the beginning of the season, could be our Drew Brees,
I mean, what they're doing is they're looking for the home. They want another Ben. They're looking for like the Hall of Fame home run ball. They're not looking for a guy who's like just a capable starter. Somebody like let me think. Here's a good one, good example. Like Trevor Lawrence or
Kyler Murray
or Dak.
Yeah.
or Jalen Hurts even. Even I know he went to the Super Bowl, but I'll throw Jalen Hurts in there.
I
Baker,
think
like
Kyler
all
Murray
these guys, Jared
got
Goff.
a good one.
Yeah, Kyler Murray's a good one too. They're looking for guys like they're looking for a quarterback who is going to be able to carry the team on their back, like Ben did. So when you have somebody like the guys that I just listed, or like Justin Fields, where it's like they can win the game, but it's not going to be necessarily off of their performance. They need help. I think they look at that and they're like, that's not really what we're after. So it creates kind of a weird thing because you're going to keep winning games if we keep having winning records, even if they're just 9-8. So keep having winning records, you're not going to be high enough in the draft order to get quarterback like that. So I'm not really sure what the strategy is here, but I don't know the double-sided coin of the quarterback situation just tells me that they're not looking at the future for either of these guys.
Yeah. I don't know. It's tricky. It's definitely tricky. Um, I guess we'll find out. I mean, a friend of mine mentioned the issue with doing the two quarterback tandem is, especially mid game, is if we throw Justin Fields out there, the other team immediately knows that we're probably going to run it, and it's not trickery, like it's not confusion. It's literally saying, "Hey, we put our running back slash quarterback out onto the field. Guess what we're probably going to do?"
Right.
I don't know. It's kind of like when we put Najee Harris out there, most other teams know we're going to run it. Meanwhile, we put Jaylen Warren out, and it's like, okay, they could run or pass. So that's why Jaylen Warren looked so much better last year. It's because there was more options when we had Jalen out there than when we had Najee out there.
Well, no, I was thinking about this the other day, man. I miss the high-powered offense though. Like I miss when we had like a stable, reliable quarterback. I miss Penn, bro.
Miss
I miss
Ben
the
so
killer
much.
beat. Those games were so much fun.
Yeah. So it's really a shame how that ended. Um, and in all honesty, we said it. If the Patriots didn't exist, uh, we would have.
We're walk away with at least two Super Bowls.
Oh yeah, for sure. Honestly, if Ben wasn't competing with Brady and Manning in the same whole millennia, imagine that. Would have been great.
Where guys like Herbert are right now.
Yeah, that's
I'm a huge Herbert fan. I am the number one Justin Herbert supporter. Even though the
yeah,
rest of the Chargers are kind of donkey doo doo, I'm a huge Justin Herbert fan. I love Justin Herbert.
yeah.
I think he's great.
I think Justin Herbert needs a new situation. Um, I mean, Harbaugh is going to be all right for him, but I don't know. I think he needs to get out of LA personally. If it was me, um,
They just need to actually give him some help, which they have made no effort to do.
yeah,
That's not true. They did draft a lineman, which is cool.
yeah. Who's I hope he's back now because he was injured for a little bit.
It
But
might be.
anyway, we are criminally running out of time here.
This is the
So
fastest hot take of your whole life, Zach.
yeah. All right, hot take. I even though this is kind of the opposite of what we've talked about the whole time, I think that Russ is going to end up with 3+ touchdowns in this next game. All passing, 3+ passing touchdowns. Reason is, he's not a mobile guy. I think we're going to confuse some things. I think two of them are going to be the tight ends, mainly because we have three capable tight ends. Four technically if Michael Pruitt is in. I mean that's and yes, the Jets have one of the best passing defenses. One of the best defenses to stop the pass, but I think in our home stadium, with going against a new offensive play caller, and kind of just everything going on with the Jets, I think we're going to be able to mess them up just a little bit. And that's my hot take. And I don't necessarily know if I want it to happen because I would love to be at the game and watch Russ throw for 3 touchdowns or three or more touchdowns. But against this defense, I don't know if it's going to happen. I think it will. But also, if it does happen, then you have all of the questions that we already brought up about our offensive situation. So, what do we want to happen with that? But that's just my thought. I'm looking at everything for this game. I think it's going to be electric. I think it's going to be, one of the best crowds that we've seen in a while, and it's going to be a really, really good game. Plus throwback jerseys,
Throwback's huge. Throwback is huge.
The last time we had that, well, actually, I don't remember last year, but I remember the last time I went to a game with that Franco Harris Christmas game. We didn't light up the scoreboard, but man, that was a heck of a way to finish the game. So great things happen on throwback night. So I'm looking forward to it. But obviously, whether that happens or anything else happens with Russ, it's going to bring up some more questions that we will definitely be answering in next podcast. But with that being said, and with us probably like 1 minute left, that is all for the podcast today. Again, we do game picks every week, and we are always looking for guests on those game picks. So please reach out to us if you guys want to be a guest on our next game picks. And yeah, that's all I got for today. Dilla, anything else to add before we head out?
No, sir.
All right. Well, we're going to end this podcast the way the Steelers fans end every day. Here we go, Steelers.
Here we go.